And I would say when it comes to testing and really kind of presenting this as a need, when you're seeing those autism features, I'd say one of the biggest things that is a flag for us or for me when I'm working with them is they're not realizing the importance of some of these everyday things they need to do. And it's like they just don't care. Whereas most individuals with SM, especially as they get older, they realize, you know what? I do need to be able to do this. And maybe the parent dynamic is rough and that has to be worked through. But behind the scenes, they're actually making a lot more progress without the parent involved because they don't feel the pressure for those families that have that pressure withdrawal kind of presentation. But I see so many individuals that just don't want to do it. And it's a battle and they don't see the importance of it and the motivation. And that makes me say, we need, like, one of the things that's like, we need testing because even with ASD testing, the ADIR, the ADOS, you're going to also look at social pragmatic communication disorder, which is also affecting their ability to communicate and socialize. And you can rule in or out autism and see where their challenges really are. So to me, testing is so important because it also validates what these individuals are feeling because some of them don't understand themselves. So they'll withdraw, they'll get frustrated. Talk to me about that with that awareness to, whoa, this makes sense why this is hard.
So, with a lot of people who are level one, sometimes it's so subtle, they fall through the cracks and they don't realize it until they become adults. And they may hear my podcast and they may not, and they understand, oh, I'm autistic. Or they hear someone like Professor Saul who figured out he was autistic and he talks about late diagnosis and they figure out this is why I'm the way I am. And they feel validated because they felt like all their lives there's been something wrong, why they couldn't hold that job, why they couldn't get that position, why school was so much harder than somebody else. And it really isn't. It's just because they didn't have the accommodations that they needed. Testing is so important because it gives parents that piece that they're not crazy because realistically, there are still a lot of professionals out there that will gaslight parents, making them feel like they're crazy when they know their kid isn't getting, there's something wrong with your kid. They're
Yeah.
not developing like they should be. Or when testing is 6 months out because there's a long list and you're like, well, great, there's a long list. There's 6 months behind. Or you have therapists that want to work as consultants saying, hey, I can be your consultant. And I'm like, no, these teachers need support. They need you in the classroom to help them with these kids because realistically, these kids are in these classrooms with their neurotypical peers. These teachers have no idea what to do with kids that have autism. Some of them may be selective mutism. You got your ADHDers, and here they are all bouncing off the walls because their nervous systems are all dysregulated. And testing is important so we know where they are socially, where to put them, where to put their interventions, and everybody needs to be individualized. And that's where we're falling in the cracks because we're trying to do this one size. Hey, we have autism level one, level two, level three. Well, that's great. But there's such a divide with how everybody level one presents versus level two. And then you got your classes because socioeconomic classes can affect that along with your race and around the globe because everything affects it, not only environment, but genetics. And nobody knows how that is going to play out. So that's the problem we're all trying to figure out. How do we have the best outcome for these kids? And there's just not, the problem is too, there's not enough therapists and teachers for every single kid because every single kid would do fabulous if they had one therapist right next to them.
Yeah, no, in a perfect world, it would be that way, right? To have really help support them. I mean, I always say don't wait, facilitate for many of the individuals I work with SM and or, with autism is the parent facilitation, knowing how to bring them into social communication, how to support them, how to help facilitate strategies. The teachers the same way, training others, something called About My Child or about me with the adults, where like, help me do this. This helps me for the older individuals. So it's all about don't wait, facilitate, because many individuals aren't going to do this on their own. They need support and they need help. And so we rely on parents, caregivers, but we also rely on partners for those that have them to kind of help, something called PVC, something so simple, prepare, role play, which use of visuals, scripting, the choice questions. So individuals with autism, what I find in terms of treatment, really do need roadmaps. They really need conversation
Mhm.
roadmaps. Things like, what questions are people going to ask me in different settings?
Mhm.
You're going for Thanksgiving this week. What are people going to ask? And then you prepare. What could I say in response? The greetings. So action plans, the greetings. Someone's going to say,
Mhm.
hi, how are you? Good. How are you? Back, copy back. How's school going? How's work going? So coming up with these questions, then what could you ask? So we have to actually navigate social communication and conversations because they don't always know how. And once it becomes very rote and very predictable, that lowers their whole anxiety with the whole process, which is where individuals with SM and autism kind of merge, or is that they that need to minimize the need to think and process. So with preparing, with scripting, hearing a choice question, that helps them. And so that helps them navigate interviews, assignments for older individuals,
Mhm.
giving them these assignments, which would be an interview process. So, as I said, many of my older individuals that I work with and adults, the older teens and adults, they can talk often. And if they can't, there's strategies through the use of an intermediary or shaping sounds into words, which we're not going to get into, but they can read a script, many of them. They can prepare in advance. It's really about teaching them those skills and helping them navigate. Every time you go to Starbucks, it's the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Can I help you? Do you find, what would you like? And so you have that. You start out with a greeting, you end with a goodbye, have a good day, that sort of thing. So if we can navigate the next time you go to Starbucks, it's the same thing. Chances are when you go to a family function, they're going to ask you one of 10 types of questions. They're not going to ask you, what do you think of global warming? So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hope not.
Well, yeah, so we have to help them understand that it becomes very more comfortable for them because these settings aren't so different. They tend to repeat itself. When you go to a restaurant, how many people are in your party? What would you like to drink? What would you like to eat? Have a good day. Yes, it's like the same thing. And then social events, creating these social stories and really giving them the conversation skills and having them. So here's something in addition. Talk to me about the caregivers or the partners of these individuals where they're doing for them. They're almost their like driver of their car. Because a big part of our work is helping individuals that we work with become the driver of their car and not the passenger, where they're dependent. Talk to me about that. How do you work with that?
Okay, so here's where the pavement's going to hit the road because once they transition into like becoming young adults, I don't think parents prepared or prepare they I don't know what happened. I think our brains just shut off and we thought they're young adults. Woo! No, that's not what happens. I got that smack in the face. So it's a lived experience, even though I'm an OT. Yeah, yeah, no, no.
Yeah.
They still need you because what tends to happen with parents that have kids with autism, we tend to isolate because we don't take our kids out anywhere out unless it's an autism event because we mask and we don't want our kids to act out. So guess what? They become young adults and now we're like, oh, they're young adults and that they can understand no and they can follow commands and they're young adults, but you forget. They don't have any social cues because we didn't take them out. So guess what you get to do? You get to teach them